Your authentic news source and reliable broadcaster. This is CII Radio, live from Africa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this health segment on the Lifestyle Show on this public holiday. And today we're diverting a little bit on our health segment. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking more general health issues. We visited dentists, we visited optometrists, and today we're going to be talking about the importance of goal setting and setting goals for yourself. And I'm going to be chatting to a life coach, Veronique. Good afternoon, Veronique, and welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me here today.
Absolutely wonderful to be chatting to you on this very beautiful day. Veronique, tell us, firstly, before we start into the questions, tell us what exactly is a life coach?
Okay, well, one thing I want to add here is that I find the term life coaching a little bit arrogant because I don't feel anybody really has that gift or that authority to tell somebody how to live their life, right? Mm-hmm. But I understand the reason why they'd call it a life coach.
Okay.
And life coaching is probably a more modern version on therapy. Mm-hmm. In that we're all living really fast lives today. The speed is crazy. We don't give ourselves time to recover from turmoil or pain or hardships that hit us. And we're like, just a steam train that's going full speed ahead. Mm-hmm. And we all get to a point in our life, usually late 20s, mid 30s, where we kind of go, geez, is this what it's all about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This image that we have of getting older and stuff seems to come crumbling down. We start to feel down. We don't feel fulfilled. We start to feel guilt, like, we're married, we have mm-hmm. children, we can't complain, we have great food, we've got cars in the garage, and yet we wake up going, is this it? And that's where a life coach plays a really good role, because there is actually nothing wrong with you. Mm-hmm. You're actually just being human, but you find yourself in a space of imbalance, and that's a great place to start when you're at that point. So life coaching, or a coach, just like any coach, a rugby coach or whatnot, sees the magnificence that you have in you when you don't, and helps you overcome those hurdles, whatever they may be, emotional, physical, mental, whatever they may be.
Interesting. What approach do life coaches take? Is it a holistic approach? What type of approach do you take towards guiding people in their lives?
Well, I personally feel that it's a holistic approach.
Okay.
Most coaches tend to focus just on the emotional side, the talking side, and leave it up to the client. I like to work more on a holistic approach, because it doesn't help if you feel mentally balanced, but your body's physically out of balance. Mm-hmm. You know that whatever solution you come up with will be temporary then, right? Because there's got to be balance on all areas. And you then go and you explore all those areas, and you try and recreate balance.
Now, a lot of people, especially I think we're winding down towards 2013, from an Islamic perspective, we don't really follow the Western calendar.
Christmas and so on.
We don't follow that particular calendar. But we start off the year, and it's also the new school year, it's the new university year, it's the new matric year. For a lot of the students, it's going to be happening in January. And also for a lot of us, it's an opportunity, because perhaps some people are starting new jobs, or you're starting a new venture, and you're going to be probably starting it during around January, or whenever in your life you're going to be starting a new venture. Why do you think it's so important for us to set goals for ourselves?
I think there's two things here. Goals are something that we use to work towards something that we want, right? I just think that society, the world over, has put so much pressure, because of this Western calendar of January to December, has put so much pressure on the period December-January.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to a friend the other day who was saying, we were talking about how you find December-January, so many people seem to pass away.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, the pressure gets put on you. It's like the end of the year. Did I achieve everything? Did I make a success of this year? Was it a waste? You start reflecting a lot. And then January, it's like, okay, how am I going to deal with the next year? So there's that pressure again, and all the things you just spoke of. And in fact, it's just another month. It's just another day, right?
Yeah.
So what's different to January versus February versus March? So I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves because of this ingrained psychological a preconceived idea that the 1st of January is the start of something new, you know. So that's one thing I'd like listeners to go, you know, don't put so much pressure on yourself with regards to that. Goals should be something that you work on throughout the year.
Okay.
And people shouldn't be so hard on themselves because goals change. Something that's realistic for you to achieve today might not be a month from now or a year from now or 3 years from now. The person you are evolves and changes. Life happens. The things we learn and gather along the way, the people that come and go in and out of our lives affect who we are. Our health changes, you know. So, for example, if you're 15 years old, it doesn't make sense for you to weigh 100 kilos. But if you are 50 years old, you'd look a bit spastic weighing what you did when you were 15. It wouldn't be a very healthy thing. So life is dynamic, and everything that comes in and out of our life is dynamic. So we should try and get out of that mindset that you set something and it's static and you need to achieve it. We need to realize that goals change. And not achieving a goal doesn't mean you're a loser or less of a human being or a failure. You know, the fact that you are trying to achieve things and you're trying.
Interesting.
Is the key point here. As long as you're trying and you're taking risks, that means you're living.
Okay.
You know, and making mistakes is the greatest thing you can do. It's the greatest gift you can give anyone, the freedom to make mistakes. Because when you realize you've made a mistake, instead of looking at it as I've made a mistake, and you ask yourself, what did I learn from this? It helps you grow as a person. It helps you find greater balance, and it helps you deal with that obstacle in a more focused, goal-orientated way, because you go in there second or third time around with a greater set of skills and tools.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Does
So
it
it's
make
basically
sense?
a stepping stone to success.
Correct. You know, the most successful people in the world, name them one after another, Einstein, Branson, Donald Trump, they've all, in their particular field of interest, failed royally. Royally. They've lost businesses. They've made complete beeps of themselves, you know.
Absolutely. I think this is very relevant because we're also coming towards a time where the matriculants are going to be getting their results, and it's a very jubilant time for a lot of the matriculants. But on the other side of the coin, there's those that didn't do as well, and you know, they're feeling like failures. They're feeling that they haven't set out to achieve what they want to do. They haven't achieved their goals, and I think it ties in really well that yes, there needs to be work done. You can't just sit back and say, oh, well, I'm going to make mistakes because that's going to lead to success. But even if there are these stumbling blocks, there needs to be the deeper understanding that they're going to be, we have to learn from every mistake that we do make.
Yeah, I'm going to give a personal view here, if I may. This is not a coaching view. Because I've got quite a controversial view on education and stuff like that. I do see it's very important. There's an importance to education.
Absolutely.
There's a need for it. It's the world that we live in. But just because a child doesn't achieve brilliantly at school doesn't necessarily mean that there is something wrong with that child or they're not a achiever. Maybe they're born to be sports people. Maybe they learn more on a practical level as opposed to a theoretical level. I think as adults, we've all experienced people who got straight A's at school with us and went to university and failed everything first term and dropped out and never even got a degree. Whereas people who were kind of scraping through or just managed to get exemption have 2 or 3 university degrees now, and they're very successful business people. So I think the greatest gift, once again, we can give our children is the freedom to make mistakes. That as long as they're trying their hardest, if they're not getting distinctions, that's okay. It doesn't make them less of a child or less of a human being. The key is to keep motivating them and not pressurize them, because I don't know about you, but if somebody tells me you will do this and you must do this, it puts me off, because it takes the and no disrespect intended to anyone, but it takes the magic out of it. You know, the sparkle, the fun, the excitement of the experience and the learning. You know, if the pressure is not there, there's a curiosity. You know,
You remind me of this little quote that goes, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its entire life thinking
that was an
it's stupid.
Einstein quote,
Yes.
and it's so true. Exactly.
And I think the crux of that is to embrace every person as they come, and realizing that not everybody is mathematically, scientifically inclined.
Yeah.
There's the creatives, as you said, the sport people. It's learning to embrace that type of difference. And not boxing
Absolutely.
everybody into a same type of category
Correct.
and thinking that's the benchmark for success.
It's like kids with ADD. You know, why must they be put on medication to fall into the education system? Why does the teacher not adapt themselves to handle the child with, you know, ADD or the hyperactivity that they're born with?
Interesting perspective.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If a child is born with high levels of energy, shouldn't the question rather be, how do we channel that energy into something that makes that child come alive and makes that child more productive in their life, as opposed to trying to numb that energy to fit into the box?
Absolutely. Let's go for a quick ad break. When we come back, we continue this discussion. We're talking about the importance of setting oneself goals, and I'm chatting to a very interesting guest this week. It is Veronique. She is a life coach. So we'll go for that quick ad break, and we'll be back after this.
Your authentic news source and reliable broadcaster. This is CII Radio, live from Africa.
Welcome back to the show. Yes, we're taking a little bit of a different turn on the health show today, and we're chatting about the importance of life goals with a life coach, or setting oneself goals rather with a life coach. Veronique, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It's wonderful talking to you this afternoon. I do need to ask you, if a person has set out a few goals for themselves and they say, you know what, we're going to be trying to lose weight, or trying to achieve better academically, or do better in business, or do better in whatever fields they have chosen, and they've set themselves these goals, how do they go about achieving these goals? Are there specific considerations to be made? Is there different ways that you can prepare yourself in order to achieve these goals?
I would actually, if they came to me and they said, I've got these particular goals that I want to achieve or set, I would take them back a step and ask them where or why they want to achieve these goals. Where do they come from, and why are they setting these particular goals for themselves? Because you find that 90 to 99% of the time, people have chosen goals based on cultural, religious, or societal expectations. Kids do it because their parents expect it of them. Women do it because it's expected of them as a woman, a mother, or a wife. Men do it because it's expected of them as a man, a caregiver, a businessman. You know, the nonsense that gets put into their head that if you're a man, this is what's expected of you. And then there's all the societal aspects, like media puts on us. You need to be a size 8 to 12. You need to look a particular way. You need to be groomed in a particular way. You need to behave in a particular way. All of these expectations that the world around us and outside of ourselves puts on us often result in us setting goals that are not a reflection or an extension of ourselves, but rather of an external world or environment outside of ourselves. The danger with that is that 9 out of 10 times we won't achieve those goals. Because it's not something that is coming from within us.
So you're saying in order for a goal to be achievable, it has to come from within you. So if you've got to want to do something for yourself, that
It's
will
got
be
to come from within
of benefit to you holistically.
Look, you can still achieve those other goals. It often depends on the pressure, and often things like guilt and fear play a big role in that. But when you achieve those goals, then you find the satisfaction is not that rewarding. And whether you achieve them or don't achieve them, there's always a sense of disappointment attached to them. That sense of, I did this, is not there. I think we've all, wanted to do something whether it's climb a mountain or whatnot, if it came from within us, if it was driven from a desire within us and we achieve it, you want to do that crazy little dance, like Rocky when he went to the top of the staircase. There's like this sense of fulfillment and pride in that achievement. But when it's expected of us, it's just like, okay, I've ticked that box. There's always that kind of dull numbness because it's not something we wanted.
So you introspect and you ask yourself, what's my intention behind achieving this specific goal?
And it's so important because the question...
Who is it for?
Yeah. And I ask my clients, who are you? And most people don't know how to answer that. If they do answer
question.
If they do answer it, they tend to give you textbook answers like, well, I'm a wife, I'm married, I have 2 kids, honesty, integrity, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff's very important to me.
Yeah.
But everyone says that, right?
Okay.
So to answer the question, who am I? What makes me tick? What inspires me? What fulfills me? What makes me come alive? What makes me feel like jumping out of bed in the morning and take on this day with sunshine and a big fat smile on my face? What makes me want to come home? All these kind of questions.
Why is it important to ask yourself these questions?
Because if you don't know who you are, then what goals are you going to set? It's got to come from there. Okay. From that point of view, when you know who you are and what makes you tick, the next question you then ask yourself is, where am I not fulfilling who I am? So for example, if nature is a very important part of who you are, spending time outdoors in nature with your feet in the grass or swimming in rivers or hiking or whatnot, and you haven't done that for 2 years, you can imagine your being is craving it because if that's something that's important to you, why are you not out there at least an hour every couple of days, right? You need that to feed you. So often not knowing who I am and trying to achieve goals that society or culture or media or whatever expects of you, can you see how the disconnect starts to grow more and more? And then even when you start achieving those goals that have been set by somebody else, number one, you're living somebody else's life. And number two, you're going to start feeling less and less of a human being, less and less fulfilled. And that's when thoughts like, am I depressed? I'm not happy. I don't smile anymore. I don't want to wake up in the morning. You start not liking your husband or your spouse very much. You start to get annoyed and lash out at people that you actually care about. And then you feel guilty because, like, why am I lashing out at them? They didn't do anything, and where is this coming from? All of these kind of things are actually little signs that you are not living an authentic, fully accepted you-ness.
Wow, that is very interesting. Anyway, so let's talk about the fact that you've evaluated your goals. You've decided who it's for. You've decided it's for yourself. You've got to do X, Y, Z in order to feel better about yourself, to gain success, and not success as dictated by society. Or you just feel like you want to get in touch with your creativity, your creative side, or you want to get more spiritual. You want to take more cognizance of religion and try and inculcate it in more areas of your life. And you've established that, and now you've set yourself these goals. How do you go about sticking to those goals? Is there any visual aids or any type of motivation you should be drawing from, or any type of things that you can use in order to stick to your goals?
There is no one answer to this question. First and foremost, as we were saying earlier, it's okay if you don't achieve your goals.
Okay.
So when you take the pressure off, because a lot of people have this great idea they need to do something, and then they actually back away from doing it because sometimes it's easier and safer to not even go there than to try and not achieve it. So a lot of people just don't even start because then they have to kind of admit to themselves that they didn't finish. And there's that whole connotation associated with, I didn't make it or I didn't achieve it or whatnot, So take the pressure off that it's okay if you don't achieve the goal. And you find that within that, it almost...
Is it ever a good idea to set a deadline that to say in 1 year XYZ will get
No,
done?
absolutely. Set deadlines and all of that. All I'm saying is that it's okay if you don't achieve it. And if you start from the point of from that point, it takes the pressure off, and you're actually more likely to achieve it than when you put a deadline to it and you become fearful of not achieving it. Because it demotivates you. It has the exact opposite effect.
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two, it really depends on the goal, and on the person. One person might do well by setting out little baby steps along the way, little obstacles, or boxes that they can tick along the way. Like a list with milestones. Mm-hmm. Somebody else might actually do well by having a coach that they can tap into and share the progress on a particular thing. It's like somebody who wants to lose weight. Maybe a dietitian would work for them, because popping in there every 2 weeks to get weighed and have that dietitian go, well done, you've lost another kilo, is what they might need to keep going until they've reached their goal weight. And the same thing with a coach. You could set yourself these directives and have somebody that you can report into who is only 100% focused on helping you become a better you. It's not a family member or a friend who might just, because we then trick ourselves and go, oh no, they're just saying that because they're family or they're a friend, So it's nice to have somebody neutral, for example. Yeah. So no real one answer, but I think it's important to remind ourselves that it's okay not to achieve goals, and that goals can amend themselves or evolve as we go along. And that if we don't achieve it, the key question, as we were mentioning earlier, is what did I learn out of it? What held me back from achieving it?
Okay.
How did I set myself up? Did I sabotage my ability to achieve this or not? Was I scared maybe to achieve it?
Interesting.
Because some people are afraid. They want to achieve something, but then they're almost afraid of what will happen when they achieve it. It's almost like they're afraid of their success. Sometimes it's easier to be in a sad, miserable victim space because it's familiar. It's like, I know this space. I don't like it much, but I know it. It's familiar. To step out of that space and go and conquer things is unfamiliar territory. And we know that there's a 50% chance it can change our life for the better. But it's like, it's unfamiliar. What if it doesn't work? What then? Then I need to go back
But it requires a lot of courage to step out of your comfort zone.
It takes courage to be authentically you. Being authentically you means not being a sheep. The extraordinary people in this world, like bless his soul, Madiba, or Gandhi, or Malcolm X, or Einstein, any of these wonderful people in the world that we all know of, they were extraordinary because they had the courage to be themselves and stay true to that belief. Even though they were ridiculed or mocked or shunned or whatnot, they were so authentically themselves and so secure with who they were and their value system and what made them tick. They knew how to answer, who am I and what do I stand for? That they operated from a place of empathy and compassion. And in that way, no matter who ridiculed them or tried to bring them down, couldn't touch them because they were confident and grounded in their authenticity. And that's what made them extraordinary people. And every single person in this world today, including you and I, have the ability to be that. But it takes enormous amounts of courage to be that, because it's so much easier to follow a crowd. If you're in a group with 50 people or 10 people or even a family environment and everybody's saying a particular thing and you feel this is not right, you feel it, and everything inside of you is going, no guys, this is not on, it's wrong. But most 9 out of 10 people, or 9.5 out of 10 people, will keep quiet because they don't want to rock the boat, or they don't want to bring shame to the family, or whatever the case may be. So they keep quiet. It takes courage to stand up and shock people and be true and honest and authentic. It takes courage because it often ends up with you being in quite a lonely place, But after that is when the magic starts to happen.
Interesting. Let's talk about the fact that a lot of people, I wouldn't even call it this time of the year, but one or two of our listeners have actually emailed to say that they seem to be unmotivated to do anything. They're in a sort of a slump, if you could call it that. And if you are in this cycle, exactly as you say, of just this monotony and not being able to establish where your life is going or what you're doing, or having not even yet found your niche or what makes you tick or what makes you happy, what kind of advice would you have for people like this?
Well, it's an interesting question, because this time of the year, and let's call it this time of the year, because of all the pressures and, like a business year is closing, a new year is beginning, or on a personal level as well, again, puts a lot of pressure on us. And you find a lot of people become very reflective.
Okay.
They start to think back, did I do anything with this year? Was it a waste? Did I achieve anything? Those kind of questions. The other thing is that we all live extremely fast lives. So January to November, you're stuck in traffic. It's just like you're working, the phones are ringing, life is just happening, and suddenly you go and leave, and it's like, and there's all this time, and this quiet, and this peace. Most people don't know how to be okay being by themselves, So in a space like that, you're kind of forced to go, what do I do with myself? And that question of who am I? And am I, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. Because now they're not in the rat race that's kind of pushing them and riding them along. Now it's just me with my own naked self, so to speak. So it can be very hard for many people, and it can be lonely for many people. If you're not married and there isn't the buzz of your family around during family time, it can be extremely lonely. And you probably find those are some of the listeners who are going, what do I do with myself? And from that space, it's like you feel demotivated, because you don't want to just go and do things on your own. Or if you do have somebody, it's like, what do you do? Do you have the money to do it? All that kind of stuff. But all of those kind of feelings are an indication of an imbalance with your authenticity, with who am I? Because when you know who am I, you know how to deal with those little hiccups.
Okay.
And demotivation, it's a dangerous, in that despondent space. It's a somewhat dangerous space to be in, because you're like on the fence between pulling myself out and getting going and possibly slumping into a mild depression of sorts. And I don't want to say that, but it's very easy to go there or to think that you go there.
And how do you bring yourself out of that?
Yeah, and if you go and then see a professional person, many are quick to get into that boat with you. And I'm probably going to upset a few people by saying that, but I'm going to say it because it's a business, right? And actually all you're experiencing is human feelings of maybe aloneness, or what do I do with quiet time when I'm not used to it, when you actually really need to be getting yourself out there and doing stuff, and maybe take that time to explore who you are and what makes you tick. Try something new, feed your soul,
Absolutely. Let's go for another ad break. When we come back, we wrap up on this discussion. I'm having a lot of fun in the studio today, and I think I'm learning a lot as well. So it's absolutely wonderful chatting to you, Veronique. Let's go for that quick ad break. When we come back, we wrap up on this particular discussion.
Thank you.
Your authentic news source and reliable broadcaster. This is CII Radio, live from Africa.
Welcome back to the show. Yes, it's almost time for us to wrap up. We're chatting to a life coach, and we're chatting about the importance of setting oneself goals, how to go about achieving those goals, how to go about living your. What I really took from there is trying to live your true self. I really like that aspect that you brought into the discussion. Let's go back into goals. Just rewind slightly.
Okay.
Are you ever too young to set yourself goals?
No, of course not.
Or are you ever too old?
No, you never. Look at a baby.
Uh-huh.
A baby or a little infant is 100% authentic. When a baby cries, the world knows about it.
Yeah.
If a baby's hungry, the world knows about it. If a baby is happy, it lights up a room, right?
Yeah.
No inhibitions, no guilt, no fear, no what is people going to think if I react like this. They operate in their pureness. In the same way as if a baby's trying to pull himself up against a wall, if that's his mission in life, if that's his goal in life, he will climb that wall even if he keeps falling over and has a little cry, and he'll try again, but that's his mission in life.
Absolutely.
So it's something that we are born with. You know, we're born to want to learn, to want to evolve, to want to achieve, to push ourselves further. What holds us back is fear and guilt. And again, we touched on it earlier. Fear and guilt is usually related to expectations and stuff set outside of ourselves. So if we can rid ourselves of that and learn how to undo that nonsense that we've picked up along the way, and we go back to that purity, that primal want to succeed without fear of the consequences, then you become a force to reckon with. You know, again, a little kid, if he wants to taste that plant that's growing over there, he breaks it off and sticks it in his mouth. You know, he takes a handful of soil, sticks it in his mouth. He's fearless. He's fearless. Now, the people in the world today that have succeeded in business or whatnot are fearless. They're not stupid. They're informed. They're well-read. They've educated themselves on the topic, on the content. But they're fearless. And fearless means I don't care what anybody's going to think. I'm okay to make mistakes. I'm okay if it all goes wrong. But I'm fearless to try. And the glory that comes out of achieving from there is so sweet. But to find the courage to be fearless...
Let's go to the other side of the coin. We got a lot of elderly listeners as well.
Right.
And I get the feeling, interacting with them, some of them feel that this is the end of my life. Like, I've set out to do what I had to. I raised my kids. I've had a family. My kids are big. The kids are married. They're living their own lives. And now this is it for me. And I'm sorry to say it, but a lot of our elderly are actually waiting to die, which is not a good thing to do, because it can be very demotivating as well. And who knows that the power to live or die is solely in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. Nevertheless, how do you motivate yourself if you in your twilight years, if you want to call it that? Can you motivate yourself at that point to set yourself little goals or try and achieve different things? Or even how do you get yourself out of a comfort zone at that time of your life?
Look, everyone's got access to Google these days.
Yeah.
There's some people who've run their first marathon at 80.
I saw that, yeah.
There's some people who've climbed Kilimanjaro at 80 for the first time in their life, or started cycling. There's some people who started doing their first university degree when they're late in their 60s and 70s. I think, again, what happens is that we live a life that is expected of us. It's almost like we're living somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And then when the kids leave the house and now it's time to go in retirement and all that kind of stuff, again, you're faced with the naked truth of who you are. Wow. And if you have spent your life living somebody else's life and now all that stuff is removed, you're faced with that, who am I? And if you don't know who am I, then there's like that funny empty void that's like, I have nothing left to live for. So you can't force anyone. Some people want to be in a victim space. Some people don't want to live. We can't stop that.
Yeah.
You know, people
But
need
can
to,
you give words of motivation?
well, people need to take responsibility for their life.
Okay.
So if you can just say to yourself, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. And I don't know when I will be.
Yeah.
Because you might live to 100. You might be 40 and die tomorrow. We don't know, right? We actually have no idea,
Absolutely no idea.
how long we're going to live and when we're going to die. So the question is to make the best out of every day and to live each day today as though it were my last. So if you've had a dream to travel, you know, and if you are on your own, doesn't matter. You're one human being. We're born into this world alone and we'll die alone. So again, if you can rid yourself of that, I can't do things on my own, it's absolute nonsense. If you start being authentically you and start doing the things that feed your soul, whether it's exercise, whether it's a hobby, whether it's something you've always dreamed of doing, you probably find that you meet like-minded people. And by doing that, you feed your soul and you take 10 years off you. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's some people who are young and they're married, but they look 100.
Yes.
And then there's other people who are 60 or 80, and when you ask them their age, you're like, what? Wow.
Yeah.
Seriously? I thought you were in your 40s and they doubled that age.
Uh-huh.
The difference is if you're feeding your soul with who you are and you're keeping the balance, you're doing things you enjoy, you're having hobbies, you're living, you're making mistakes, you're living, you're learning, you're getting out there, you're mingling, you're socializing, you're being crazy, you're staying in touch with the fearless kid that was trying out things. That's what keeps you young. And it's never too late to start that, ever. Never, ever, ever.
Inspiring words. Absolutely inspiring words.
And if they can't do it on their own, they can come to me and I'll show them how.
You're going to leave all your contact details towards the end.
No, I'm just kidding.
Now, you've lived in the Middle East, so you know, obviously, our New Year has actually started two months ago.
Yeah.
We're almost towards the third month of our New Year.
Right.
Nevertheless, a lot of people still want to do this New Year resolution thing. I read an interesting research article that New Year's resolutions don't actually work. What's your opinion?
Well, I don't know about you, but I've, in the past, before I became, for lack of a better word, slightly more enlightened, I don't think I've achieved any of my New Year's goals that I set out to, because I understand now that they came from an unrealistic place or an expectation place. And I have shifted my way that goals are something that I do all year. And I've actually found that I achieve so much more now and from a much calmer place. Than when I used to set myself, okay, as of the 1st of January.
And isn't that such cheap mentality? Because you're only doing it because everybody else around you is doing it.
Yeah, why the 1st of January? Why not right now?
Yeah.
You know, if it's so important to you, why not right now?
Absolutely.
You know, why must I become a gluttonous pig and be lazy for the next 2 weeks and only start on the 1st of January? Why don't I start walking right now and eating healthy right now? Have I got no control of myself? You understand?
Yeah.
The key link to merge that is, what is my motivation for that goal? Because if it's something I really want, I wouldn't delay it. I would start it right now.
Absolutely. Nevertheless, can you leave our listeners with a few words of wisdom before we end the show? And of course, I'm also going to ask you to leave all of your contact details if any of our listeners out there need a life coach to get their lives in order. Okay.
I think the key thing, and it's a quote, is don't live somebody else's life. You know, if you have a particular religion or a particular culture, or you live in a particular environment or whatnot, and those things are important to you, yes, with by all means be respectful to that, and you know, you are a social being, and like any society on earth, whether it's animals, human beings or whatnot, in order to function within that society, we need to be respectful to the space that we share with others, right? Having said that, you also need to be true to yourself, because you only have one life to live. And so often people spend most of their life trying to please everybody and everything outside of themselves and around them, that they lose who they are. And we as human beings tend to be quite arrogant in that we think we're going to live forever. But we don't. So we also need to be a little selfish and live a little bit for ourselves. Because if we are happy and if we are fulfilled and if we are inspired, then we can make people around us inspired and happy and fulfilled. If we're half of a human being, then how can you make an impact or motivate anybody else around you? It starts with you, right? It starts with you. So my advice to anybody out there, and as a coach I shouldn't be giving advice, but this is my gift to you guys out there today, is don't live somebody else's dreams or rules or whatnot. Have the courage to live what is truly, authentically you. And in that way, you can spread sunshine and impact those around you in a positive way.
I love that. Absolutely love that. If any of our listeners do want to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Well, I operate from my practice in Lone Hill, so it's quite accessible from all the highways. I'm not sure, am I allowed to give my number and my email address?
Your contact details, yeah.
Okay, they can contact me on 082 451 3180. My name and surname is a bit difficult, so I don't know if you guys might be able to load that on your website or something, but it's Veronique Brueggelmans.
Okay. And
if they want to email me, it's Veronique, which is VERONIQUE @ just, JUST, dash, B-E?
That's where I made the big mistake.
.co.za.
Email you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I
You left out the dash.
The dash. But anyway, it's Veronique at Just B, and they have to do the dash. Just
Dash
B
between the just and the B. Yeah.
All right. If any of our listeners want those contact details, please do drop me an email, Safira@CIIBroadcasting.com, and I'll be more than happy to forward all of that off to you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
It's been absolutely fantastic. Do take care.
Take care. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
And yes, that's it for the health segment. I hope you're all feeling motivated and inspired with that. From myself, Safira Kaka, it's Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Your authentic news source and reliable broadcaster. This is CII Radio, live from Africa.